Hello everybody, Travis here. Now this is not going to be one of my typical reviews. I typically do construction reviews on heavy equipment and things like that. But I also love the great outdoors and guns and hunting and that type of thing. And so today is going to be a gun review. So which did I choose? Was it the Fierce Carbon Rogue or the Browning X-Bolt Pro? Those were the two that I was narrowed it down to. It's in particular, the Browning was a 2023 SHOT Show special, and 7 PRC was the caliber that I chose. Now, I by no means claim to be a gun expert. I have guns my whole life and hunt outdoors and do all that type of stuff, and I like to shoot and things like that. And so, that's what this is. This is just an honest review, not really a review, but just why I made the decision I did. So anyway. 7 PRC, I'm kind of partial to the 28 caliber, 7 millimeters, because that's what my dad raised me on. Just like I like Dodge pickups because that's what my dad drove. And if your dad drove a Ford, you probably drive a Ford, Chevy, Toyota, whatever. That's just how it goes a lot of times, right? So I like the 28 caliber. I have a lot of those. I also have, I have my 308s, 30-06 and 6.5s and some other things, but mostly 7 millimeters is what I like. So when I was comparing the two guns, the Fierce Carbon Rogue and that Browning X-Bolt Pro, they're both right in there about the same price line. So which one did I choose and why? So I'm going to get right to it. I chose the Browning, believe it or not. The Browning X-Bolt Pro, SPR, suppressor ready, 20-inch barrel, 7 PRC. Now this gun weighs, on Browning's website, I think about 5 pounds, 10, 12 ounces, something like that. Has a nice, beautiful carbon fiber stock. Has a steel skip-fluted barrel, 3-lug, X-bolt, and so forth. So we'll get into that. And we're also going to talk about the Browning trigger a little bit too. We're going to debunk a myth out there that a lot of popular YouTubers say about the Browning trigger. So first off, comparing both guns side by side, everything, what I liked and disliked about them. So there's really nothing wrong with the Fierce Carbon Rogue. But I did do, as everybody does nowadays, some Google search reviews, things like that. There seem to be some mixed reviews out there, maybe not on that particular gun itself, but with the company in general, maybe other products, customer service, and so forth. So I also have experience with Browning. I have many other Browning rifles, shotguns, and things like that. So first off, let's go to the barrel. As I said, I have a construction background, construction my whole life. So the Fierce has the carbon wrapped barrel, which there's nothing wrong with really. But in the construction world, which I work in, anytime the more steel, the more metal you have in something, the stronger it is, the more durable it is, the longer it's going to last, and the less chance you have of failures. So I prefer the solid steel barrel. I'm not sold on the idea of the carbon wrap. When you have that thin of metal of a barrel that you got in there, and then you're just wrapping it all up basically with plastic to stiffen it, you just don't have much meat. You don't have much metal there. See, I can still get the same weight gun with a solid steel barrel, basically. It might be 2 ounces lighter, but that's nothing. The Fierce may be. So, heat, to me, when you shoot the barrel, your barrels heat up on the outside of steel barrel, but you grab a carbon barrel, of course it's not going to be as hot on the outside because it's carbon. It does dissipate heat faster, but the internal temperature on that real thin metal and pressure that it's getting, it's got to be getting just as hot inside that barrel as it is in your solid steel barrel. And this seems like, this barrel seems to cool off pretty quick anyway. But the thinner metal you have, typically thinner metal is going to heat up quicker. It's going to warp faster, and it's going to crack and have a failure before thicker, more steel. And anyway, that's my experience from construction. So number one reason I chose the Browning over the Fierce, the solid steel barrel. I'm still sold on that. It still seems like it's the most accurate way to go for me personally. Okay, the second thing that reason I chose the Browning was this 3-lug bolt. It's the Fierce has a 2-lug bolt. again, there are more. 3 lugs, just a stronger, better setup to me, in my opinion. So I like the 3-lug bolt. You can get a 3-lug bolt on Fierce, but not on the Carbon Rogue itself. And one thing that's neat, really this is the third thing, the reason I chose the Browning, is this. The unlock button. So when your gun is on safe, like it is right now, your bolt is locked. That thing is not coming up. You know, with the Fierce, just like a Remington or Mossberg, and a lot of others have your slide safety here on the side. When your gun's on safe, the bolt is not locked. The bolt flops up. So I've been walking through the woods before with a gun, a vine, a tree branch, a briar, anything. Hooks your bolt, flips it open, dumps your load. It's happened to me several times. With this Browning, it is locked. However, what's nice is, though you're loaded, you want to unload safely. You don't have to go put your gun on fire to unload. You simply press the bolt delock button, up, out, and you unlock. So it's similar to a 3-position safety, but a little different. I like it better because you don't even have to fool with the safety to unload your live hot round. And I believe Seiko is the only other gun manufacturer that has a way, an unlock bolt. If I'm wrong, correct me, but I have not seen another bolt design like the Browning xbolt here that unlocks like that. So those are the 3 main reasons that I chose the Browning over the Fierce, besides the reviews. One other added thing that I do like about the Browning is the clip. It's a rotary clip, so when you feed it in like that, every time that you work your action, it's feeding straight into your chamber. It's never going to go in there sideways and jam. I've had a lot of guns jam on me when I'd go to from a stacked side-by-side stacked magazine. This is plastic, but it's a hard, like, polymer type stuff. I've stepped on it. I've done a lot of things. They don't seem to break, and it snaps in there good. It's flush when you're shooting the gun or holding the gun. You have that's just a smooth fit and finish there on the clip on the Browning. So I do love that. So I've already shot the gun, ran 17 rounds through it, 50 yards first. I mean, I was cutting holes within about 4 or 5 shots. I moved out to 200. I already shot a 1-inch group with 5-6 shots there, and started hitting my gong, and I'm going to start shooting my 300s. But I am going to get you get a nice gun like this, you got to put a nice scope on it. This is the Leopold 5-20 VX5, but I'm ordered my custom dial from Leopold, which to me that's a pretty cool deal there. I got that on the 28 Nosler as well. So let's debunk the trigger. A lot of people down the Browning because they say the trigger's too heavy. They say that you get a Browning gun, you can't get the trigger under 3.5 pounds. Well, that's simply not true. And a gunsmith, I learned this from, and so we're going to debunk that, because a lot of the popular YouTubers that I've seen say, well, then you got to fix the Browning, you got to replace the trigger, otherwise you can't get it the way you like it. Well, that's not true. So what you do to adjust the trigger on the Browning, many of you may already know, just pop these 2 Allen screws out here. That pops this whole plate off. Right in here in front of the trigger, there's a little set screw that's got some red silicone on it. Just scrape that red silicone off. That keeps it kind of locked in place where it is. Now if you go in there and just back that screw out a little bit, you'll lighten the trigger up a little bit, but it's not going to be like under the 3 pounds what some people are wanting. So how do you do it? Well, here's the trick. You go in there and you actually run that set screw all the way in first. You go all the way in till it almost stops turning, or maybe you can even hear a little bit of clicking noise, not clicking, but like springy like noise. And just leave it like that for about 10 minutes. So what that does is that takes the tension, that takes a little bit of the tension and spring, you could say, off of the spring that's in there. So you run it in, leave it like that for about 10 minutes, and then start backing it out and checking your trigger. And then what do you know? You get backed out, and now like with this gun here in particular, 2 pound 5 ounces, just like that. And that Browning trigger, there's no creep, there's no travel. It's perfect. 2.5 is just perfect for me for hunting, even target practicing. And I wouldn't want it any lighter than that. But if you do want it lighter than that, and this might be in Browning's instructions somewhere, I have no idea, But do the same thing. Run that screw all the way in again. Do it 2 or 3 times, and then leave it set overnight with it with that set screw run all the way in, and then start backing it back out the next day and testing your trigger weight and see what you get. Now supposedly then you can get it down under 2 pounds that way. Now when you do get the trigger where you like it, remember to put a dab of silicone on it and around it some thread, so that'll set up and that'll keep it in place where you want it. Otherwise, vibration and shooting, it could have a tendency to back out more, and you may not want that. So that's the myth on the Browning trigger, that you can't get it under 3 pounds without replacing the trigger. Not true. Not true. So try that and let me know if it works. I may do another gun video in the near future, debunk another myth, and that's on like the Kimber Mountain Ascent and some other guns that have pencil barrels, like the Savage Storm lightweight, or like I have a Remington Model 700 mountain rifle. You know, many people will say, well, you can't take one of those guns out, and you take one of those guns out to the range, you shoot it 2 or 3 times, and you're done because the barrel gets hot and flash and blah, blah, blah. And that's not true either. And there's a trick to it. And I have sat here at the range with my Kimber and run 20, 25 rounds through it, and just driving tacks. Now, I don't shoot it like an AR, but I sit here and run like you would practice with a bolt action rifle, and you can sit here and shoot that thing time after time. But there's a trick to it, and I'll do that video maybe in a week or so, and we'll demonstrate all that and debunk that little myth too, so that you won't be afraid of a Kimber rifle or a gun with a pencil barrel. All right, thanks for watching. And if I'm wrong on anything, by all means, you tell me, and I'll be the first to admit that I'm wrong and apologize.